Hi viewers, I'm Purple Celery. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be taking a rather belated overall look at Season 2/Series 15 of Doctor Who. I did mean to make this video a couple of weeks ago, but time just flies. Anyway, it's better late than never. And needless to say, there will be spoilers. I'll start by talking about the things that I enjoyed about this season. I thought the first half was quite strong. It got off to a solid start with the episode The Robot Revolution, and then the next few episodes I thought were very, very good indeed. We had Lux, which was great. I liked the clever use of animation. I thought the villain, Mr. Ring-a-Ding, was amazing. Next up we had The Well. That was my personal favourite episode of this season. It was just gripping the entire way through. And the fourth episode, Lucky Day, was also quite brilliant. At the time, I did have some reservations about the placement as the fourth episode in the season because I thought that it kind of broke up the momentum of the Doctor and Belinda's adventures. But taken as a standalone episode, it is very, very good. In the second half, we had The Story and the Engine, which wasn't quite my cup of tea, but I could see what they were trying to do with the episode, and I did particularly like the Lagos setting. And then the sixth episode, the Interstellar Song Contest, I thought was a return to form. It was fun. It was very, very good. Ncuti Gatwa, I felt, continued to grow into the role of the Doctor. I thought that some of his best moments came not when he was singing or dancing or crying, but in those little moments of righteous anger. For example, that scene in Lucky Day where he confronts Conrad and he's so, cold and angry and serious. Little moments like that I thought were his best. Belinda also started this season as a brilliant companion. She was a bit spiky, a bit abrasive, somebody who wasn't afraid to stand up to the Doctor. I also enjoyed how many of the episodes lent into her being a nurse. They didn't ignore her occupation. I also have to give a shout out to Millie Gibson as Ruby. Last season I thought that she was a bit of a generic character, didn't really stand out much, but I do have to revise my opinion. I really enjoyed how this season explored how she was coping with the aftermath of travelling with the Doctor. We saw that she was a bit paranoid, a bit hypervigilant. She was kind of struggling to fit back into everyday life, and I really did enjoy how the season explored that. I thought that Ruby was very proactive. She was the one that kind of seemed to do the most in the finale, which I'll discuss further in just a sec. So yeah, kudos to Millie Gibson as Ruby in this season. And lastly, I also enjoyed the little cameo in the finale of the 13th Doctor. It was lovely to see Jodie again. Now, onto the things that didn't quite work for me. As with Season 1, Season 2 really lent into the fairy tale mythology vibe, and it kind of strayed away from science fiction. That didn't quite work for me. It seemed to result in some big abstract ideas that just didn't quite gel for me. For example, we had the concept in The Story and the Engine that if you killed the gods, then mankind would also disappear, but it wasn't quite explained why that was the case. And then also in Wish World, we had the Rani turning the German family into flower petals and ducks and whatnot. That was never really explained. I mean, it was never explained how the Rani had the power to do that. Because at the end of the day, she's like not a witch or anything, she's just a time lady. And as far as we're aware, time ladies just don't have that kind of power. Now, onto the finale. For me, this was a bit of a letdown. And I do have to say here, my understanding was that this era of the show was meant to be a soft reboot. It was meant to draw in new and young and casual viewers. But for all that, Russell T Davies had a habit of bringing back rather obscure villains and monsters. In Season 1, he brought back Sutekh, and in Season 2, he brought back the Rani and Omega, which to me was just a bit strange. In both cases, there was quite a big build-up, but then the villain turned out to be dispatched quite easily. I also felt the finale was controversial for all the wrong reasons, in that they made Belinda a single mother. Now, there is nothing wrong with Belinda being a single mother, And I have kind of seen on the internet two schools of thought here. The first was that her daughter Poppy had always existed, and that by bringing Poppy back, the Doctor was simply restoring the universe to what it was. He was basically trying to, like, you know, put back that 1% that, like, wasn't quite right. The other school of thought is that Poppy only existed because of Conrad's wishes, and the Doctor in effect brought her into existence as opposed to restoring her in the finale. I personally am a subscriber to the first school of thought, in that Poppy always did exist and the Doctor was just restoring her back to life. But I really just wish that that had been better seeded. On top of everything else, I just found the finale with Poppy a little bit problematic, in the sense that the viewer came to know Belinda and identify with her as a certain type of person that is, like, you know, a single, child-free woman who was quite devoted to her career and was living in a share house. And to have it revealed that she's actually a single mum was almost like having the rug yanked from underneath our feet. It's like, for example, with the Harry Potter books, if it was revealed, say, in the last Harry Potter book, that Harry Potter wasn't a wizard, he was actually an alien, and his magic powers weren't really magic powers, they were just his special alien powers. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a wizard or an alien, you know, one's not better than the other, but it would just destroy everything that we knew about Harry being a wizard. And I just feel that, like, the reader would feel a bit cheated, in the same sense that us viewers, I feel, were a little bit cheated with the reveal that Belinda was actually quite a different person from who she was supposed to be. Also, as I said in my last video, I'm not a big fan of Ncuti Gatwa regenerating into Billie Piper. I get that there must have been some stuff happening behind the scenes. It looked as though perhaps Ncuti left quite unexpectedly, and Russell T Davies maybe had to scramble to do some big rewrites. But I just don't get why there had to be a regeneration. I mean, imagine this. Imagine if in a few years we had a season 3 and Ncuti came back for the first episode and then regenerated at the start of episode 1. I mean, like, you know, that would be totally shocking and, you know, totally cool in some ways. In my view, I feel like bringing back Billie Piper, of all people, just feels a little bit cheap. And it feels as though Davies just did it to create clickbait. It wasn't because it's like the best option, because it, like, serves the story. It just feels as though he did it to create headlines, which I'm really not a fan of. The short seasons also aren't really doing it for me. In hindsight, I feel like perhaps season 1 and 2 would have been better if Davies had treated it as like a 16-episode run, and he could have kind of like split it up into 2 parts, you know, part A last year, part B this year, maybe if possible just stuck with the one companion. I think it also feels more truncated than usual, because even though Ncuti Gatwa had 18 episodes, 3 of those episodes were quite Doctor light. So we only really had 15 episodes where Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor took centre stage. So for me, when I saw Ncuti regenerate, it wasn't bittersweet like the other Doctors have been. It was more, I don't know, it was more frustrating. When you think about it, Ncuti had a very short tenure. If we go from first appearance to last appearance, it was only 18 months. Compare that to like Jodie Whittaker's tenure, it was closer to 5 years, and before her, Peter Capaldi's tenure was close to 4 years. So yeah, Ncuti Gatwa's tenure just feels so short and truncated. If there is going to be a season 3 of Doctor Who, I would really like to see a back to basics approach. Just like, you know, give us a companion. Don't give us any cute tricks with their background. Don't make them a mystery box. Just give us like a, you know, modern day Earth-based companion with an interesting family. Maybe give us like a new fresh villain or monster. Don't bring back somebody obscure who was there for 5 seconds in 1974 or what have you. On balance, I did think that season 2 was stronger than season 1, but I feel the question remains, did it do enough to warrant a 3rd season? I feel like more than ever, Doctor Who is very much in limbo, and I wouldn't be surprised if the show does go on hiatus for several years. I obviously really hope that that's not the case, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I do very much feel like the deal with Disney is up in the air, and again, I wouldn't be shocked if the show moved to like a different streaming platform. I guess there is a silver lining in the sense that we do have a spin-off coming up. That's the one with Unit, the war between the land and the sea, I think it's called. So I think that's going to be dropping later this year, and I will do my best to review that. But anyway, over to you guys. What did you think about Season 2? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was better or worse than Season 1? Please leave your comments in the comments section below, and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And I will be back at some point to do more reviews. But as always, thank you so much for watching. This is Purple Celery, over and out.